So what is euthanasia? Basically, euthanasia is an act of deliberately cutting off someone's life to end their suffering. Meanwhile, according to the Oxford Advanced Learning Dictionary, euthanasia is the act of killing without pain for a person who is suffering from incurable and painful disease. There is two forms of euthanasia, which is active and passive, and voluntary, involuntary, and non-voluntary. Active euthanasia is an act that directly and deliberately will causes a person's death. For an example, if a patient were given overdose painkillers that the doctor already knew it will kill the patient, it is considered as active euthanasia. And while talking about passive euthanasia is when they don't let the patient die. They don't like kill them directly, they just let them die with their own suffering. And this is morally debatable, because somehow they already aware of the choices that they made, and they will face the consequences. In the passive euthanasia can be divided into two, which is withholding treatment and withdrawing treatment. For withdrawing treatment, it is when a patient is fully dependent on a machine that's supporting him or her to live, and then a doctor decided to cut off the machine that are helping them. So it is considered as withdrawing treatment, because that they will die with their own disease. And withholding treatment is when you knew that a surgery can help a patient, well, to extend their life a little bit longer, but you choose not to, and that is considered as withholding treatment. Moving on, we have voluntary euthanasia, involuntary euthanasia, and non-voluntary euthanasia. For voluntary euthanasia is when a person when he doesn't want to suffer anymore, so he asking for the doctor to just cut off any treatment that he is depending on any machine, because he doesn't want to live anymore and he is willingly to cut off his life. This is considered as voluntary euthanasia. While non-voluntary euthanasia is when a unconscious person, or a person in coma, or any person who is unable to decide for himself or on behalf of him. For an example, a baby or a weak intellectual person, that they don't know is it better for them to live or to die. So a correct authority, a responsible authority, or people who has an appropriate title will actually decide this for them. And for involuntary euthanasia is when a person who dies is actually wanted to live but is killed anyway. Usually this kind of situation happen when a family cutting off all the treatment that a patient received, because they consider the patient as a burden, so they just want to cut it off, because there's a lot of expense in.
One frequently asked question regarding brain death is brain death accepted as true death among Islamic scholars and clinicians? So first we'll define what brain death is. It is defined as the irreversible loss of all functions of the brain, including the brainstem. So once the brainstem dies, or once the functions of the brain starts to degenerate, then once the doctor considers it as irreversible, then only a person can be considered as brain death. As long as there is even a little hope of the brain regaining its function, which is usually in the case when other parts of the brain stops functioning except the brainstem. So once the doctor declares them as brain death, in Islam, can they be considered as legally dead, or can it be considered as true death? So regarding this, Islamic Fiqh Academy of the Organization of Islamic Conference in 1986 declared that a person can be considered legally dead if one of the following signs is established. So the first sign that they declared was the complete stoppage of the heart and breathing, which is quite self-explanatory. As we all know, if the heart stops functioning completely and there's no way of recovering the function of the heart, then all of the other parts of the body will stop functioning as well. So therefore they'll be declared as dead. However, when it comes to brain death, contemporary scholars differ in their opinion. Majority of the scholars do agree that brain death alone can be considered as true death. However, a minority of scholars do not consider brain death alone itself. They consider that as long as the death of as long as the heart is functioning, then they cannot be considered as legally dead. So coming back to the Islamic Fiqh Council declaration, they also considered as the second sign if all brain function ceases completely, and also specialist doctors agree that this death of the brain is irreversible, and also that the brain has already started to degenerate, then the brain death alone itself can be considered as true death. So when looking at why the brain death alone is considered as true death by some of the scholars, the argument that they have is usually when a person is brain dead, the only way that the heart is functioning and the breathing is through life support systems alone. So it's with the help of these machines that the heart is functioning and the breathing. So even with the help of that, once a person is considered as brain dead, since there's no way, and the doctors agree that there is no way that the person can regain their consciousness, these scholars agree that it is okay to remove the life support, and brain death alone can still be considered as legal death.
Going to the next question. This one is from Aisha XYT. She asked, why does Islam prohibit euthanasia? Okay, thank you for the question. So I already listed 3 main reasons why Islam prohibit euthanasia. So the first one is because life is sacred. The second one is because only Allah has the right to take someone's lives. And the third one is because suicide or anything that is equal to suicide are explicitly forbidden in Islam. Going back to the first point, which is life is sacred. Life is sacred because it is a blessing. It is a chance that was given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to us human. Allah told us to use our life wisely to make a benefit out of it. We should use our life to do good deeds, to experience something, to gain knowledge, to spread Islam, and even to worship Him. So life is not something that we should have taken for granted. In Surah Al-Isra, verse 33, Allah reminded us, do not take a life that are already made sacred, unless for the sake of justice. So in this verse, what Allah is trying to convey is that Allah saying that it is only permissible in Islam to take any life for the sake of justice. For example, when A killed B, A will be killed too as a punishment for his wrongdoing. This is what we call as hudud. We are doing it for the sake of justice, for the sake of reminding other people that it is not right to do so. It's a reminder to us. However, in the case of euthanasia, most of the people that are going through pain or suffering, they decided to take their own life because they wanted to feel free. They want to stop suffering, they want to stop the pain, so they decided to give up on their life. However, Allah said that as long as we are breathing, as long as we are alive, then we should have never give up on our life. We should fight for it, because Allah said, I did not test my people, my creature, for nothing. So even if you are not rewarded in the world, you might receive the rewards in the hereafter. So be patient throughout the process. Inshallah, everything will be fine. Going to the next point, which is only Allah has the right to take someone's life. This one is very simple, because our life is something that was owned by Allah. So only Allah has the right to take it back, not us human. For example, when A borrowed a pen from B, only B has the right to take the pen and sell it to someone else. A has no right to sell it to someone else. As simple as that. In Surah Al-Imran, verse 145, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated and said that no one should die except by my wills and at an appointed terms. As simple as that. I think I don't have to translate that because the message is very clear. Going to the next and the last point why Islam prohibit euthanasia is because suicide or anything that is equal to suicide are explicitly forbidden in Islam. Allah and the Prophet multiple times reminded us not to do something harmful to ourselves. For example, in Surah An-Nisa, verse 29, Allah said, do not do anything harmful to you and I will be merciful on you. And meanwhile, the Prophet told us a story. It was a hadith whereby a Prophet said that there's a nation before us. where a man lives and he was going through some disease. So he cannot be patient with his disease. He cannot bear the pain. So he decided to take a knife and cut his own wrist. So he died out of it. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the Prophet, my slave, my creature had already took his own life. Therefore, I forbid him to enter my paradise. So this hadith is a reminder to us that if we take our own life, if we are doing something that is equal to suicide, then we will never enter a paradise. It is already mentioned in the hadith. We are already given the reminder. So there is no reason, there is no excuse for you saying that I still want to perform euthanasia because I'm in pain and whatnot. Because keep in mind, everyone are going through some difficulty. I could understand that some people cannot bear the pain, and I'm not in the place to talk about this. But however, just keep in mind that Allah did not test us for nothing. Allah are doing this to see if we could be patient with the test given by Him. So just be patient throughout the process, and inshallah everything will be fine. So I think that's the three main reasons why Islam prohibit euthanasia. And if you guys want to know more about this matter, we will include the reference at the end of the video so you guys can make more research about it. I hope that I already answered your question.